sont dits partout.
What is going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy. You are watching the Nocturnal Transmissions brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's the conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. With me, as always, co-hosting this thing is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on, guys?
Yes, and today is we're doing another pre-tape because due to scheduling conflicts, we're not able to do it at our usual time at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But this video will be uploaded at the normal time, so you can still catch it at the normal time. We were supposed to have a special guest lined up, but they weren't able to. The scheduling again was off, so you get this special pre-tape. And
you have to suffer through me again.
I know Rob's always messing things up, but we'll forgive him. We'll forgive him. This time. But anyways, let's get this conversation started.
Well, okay. Well, first off, I had to say I want to apologize to you, Andy, for last week because I felt like I stepped over you a lot last week, and I kind of feel bad about that. Sometimes I get a little too excited or whatever, and it just sometimes it kind of spills out. So I wanted to say, sorry about doing that last week.
Yeah, don't ever let that happen again. Don't make me come over there. Don't make me come over to your place with a ball peen hammer. Go old Las Vegas on you.
Deservedly so. But I just wanted to make sure that I got that out there, and for those that watched, it's annoying when people are always talking over each other and interrupting one another. It's kind of it's too clunky. It doesn't sound nice.
I mean, we have the same issues as probably any network news program has when they do these types of interviews over the phone or through satellite or now Skype. They have that problem of talking over each other, and if you give someone enough time to, or if you pause, it gives that person to jump in, but you don't, you may not be finished with your thought, and you just pause, but then you still have something more to say, and so
that's the I want it to be more of more of a smooth, kind of like a Joe Rogan Experience podcast and less CNN.
Right, I know. It's we're having technical difficulty. Oh, Robert, where'd you go? Oh no, Robert!
Excuse me. This is my 5 seconds, okay? Excuse me.
Right. Oh man.
So I just figured I'd put that out there and kind of publicly apologize to you. I did it in person, but that way the audience gets a piece of that too. So
all right, yeah. So the rest of the world can enjoy your what is it?
Humility.
Humility and prostration for me. Bow to your God, Emperor.
Well, there's a I'm a big fan of classic literature, and there's a character from the story of David Copperfield. And I think I've probably mentioned this before on this show. There's a character by the name of Uriah Heep, and he lauds himself as the most humble man around.
Right,
and, But he boastly prouds of he boasts about how proud he is of being so humble.
Right. Which is a contradiction. It's like, look how humble I am. I'm so humble. There's no one as humble as I am.
Exactly. I'm very proud of my humility.
Oh, yeah. Man. It's the weather's been kind of weird lately, It's it's making my lips really chapped. I wake up every day like with a ring around it, like a ring around a white ring around my lips, like I did like a huge like 8 ball of cocaine or something.
Are you Ashy Larry?
Yeah, Ashy Larry. Yeah, basically Ashy Larry. Because yeah, it was like
Oh.
kind of cooling down like late September, and then all of a sudden, in like early October, it was starting to cool down. But then all of a sudden, it starts to like warm up again, and it's like I don't know, like I guess it's just the air has just gotten really dry, and every morning I'm waking up with like this weird tingling sensation on my lips, and it's just like dry.
Yeah, same here. It was like 100 degrees yesterday. It was ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's not even an if situation anymore in Southern California. It's like it's just gonna happen. Like we're just gonna have Indian summers. You know.
yeah, I'm fine with it. Just it's kind of the weather is confusing my body.
Yeah, I know. It's all just messing. And for those of you who are freaking out because I said Indian summer, it's an old term. Okay, it's to describe a prolonged summer kind of climate or weather within like the fall season. Okay, so just relax, chill out.
Oh yeah, I don't worry, I wasn't hurt by that. So
I know, because like
hurt
you
by
and
that.
me, we understand like that term. We kind of grew up with it, but then nowadays people just like might freak out. So I was like, oh, just relax. It just refers to a small window within fall where it still feels like summer. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is. That's all it is.
For a lack of like a better term, I've never heard it like described any other way.
Right?
And I've never heard anyone like offer up an alternative
I know,
anyways.
right? Like even like a meteorologist who could like maybe start who could break it down or reclassify it using like Latin or whatever. There's no one's come out and done it.
But like some asshole at some point is gonna be like, well, actually, it was a very racist term that like when so and so like it's like, oh my god, with all their horseshit history that they
Mm-hmm.
that they
What was that?
espouse.
That Howard Zim guy? Ugh, gross.
Yeah.
But I guess some congratulations are in order because you, sir, just landed a job.
Yes, I did. I
Yes.
well, it's funny because I know we talked about it on this channel like that when I went to go for that interview.
Mm-hmm.
Well, surprise, surprise. 4 months later, I finally get contacted about it. It's like I wasn't even expecting it.
All right.
So
Right. In this company, I mean, we won't go into specifics, but yeah, this company, they're not known for
speed.
their speed,
Yeah.
so it's understandable that you applied and you went in for an interview like what was it like 2 months ago, 3 months ago?
It was 4 months ago.
Oh, 4 months ago, yeah. So 4 months ago, and then now they're getting back. So this was back in June when you had your interview.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So
Actually, no, it was July. So it was.
so it's like early July.
Yeah, but like we're mid October, so it's about a little over 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was right after July 4th. It was right after Independence Day when I had my interview. So
yes, which we did do a very special Nocturnal Transmissions. It isn't so check it out. Circle of Jerks podcast YouTube channel. It's under the Nocturnal Transmissions. So we did do a very special 4th of July episode. Although we were kind of hit with some copyright claims because of the music that I use, so I had to take out the music. So
wow.
there's gonna be so like the first 30 minutes of that video is gonna just be our standby logo, but just skip forward 30 minutes and you'll get into the regular you'll get into podcast. Although we're not monetizing, so it doesn't even matter that we got it wasn't like a hit. It wasn't like an actual like hit against our channel. It was just like a warning. It's like, hey, this is copyrighted material, but we're not even monetized, so it wouldn't have even hurt. We're not even making money off of it, so they can't really get they can't really get us
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, he's like, yeah, we're using this music, but we're not making money off it.
Yeah, it's one of those like weird areas where I understand like obviously like the copyright stuff and like it's important that it's there,
Hmm.
but people aren't coming to the show to like listen to the song. It's
Right?
or
Yeah.
like small clip of a song, which is it kind of makes it like okay, yes, if anyone if that was like if we were just like sitting here and like listening to music, that'd be a different story.
Hmm.
Yes, but
Yeah, but I heard it's like, I don't know. I heard like the algorithm is or whatever monitoring thing that they have in place is so sensitive that even like for those people who do vlogs, personal vlogs, and they're in a store and then they have like a song playing within the store, uh, like I guess like Google or whatever can like pick that up and pick out the song. I mean, I guess like they use like Shazam or something in their algorithm, and so like it picks it up and like they'll send you like a copyright warning. It's like, oh, this material, like this song is copyrighted, blah blah blah. And so
wow,
yeah, yeah, I know. Like
that's
I know we're talking shop, folks, but don't worry. It's just it's just it's all part of the business that we chose to get into. So yeah, and it might be useful to anyone who is thinking about doing what we're doing. So yeah, just the more you know, as it were.
and knowledge is power.
I know we're all Schoolhouse Rock up in this bitch. I know another old reference, and like what it doesn't really matter because according to our analytics, our biggest demographic is what is it? 25 to 34.
Oh, so it's not our age group
Yeah.
essentially.
So they people know. So our major demographic knows exactly what we're talking about. So.
Oh man. So what's been going on with you this past week?
Not a whole lot. I mean, well, I was supposed to have a job interview today actually, but it got rescheduled for next week.
Okay.
Yeah, because the person I was supposed to interview with apparently got called into jury duty, and
Oh.
yeah, and then they weren't sure if they would have to go the whole week, or or if they were going to be dismissed after the first day. So instead of having that uncertainty, they just decided to reschedule for the next week, which is great because I've had instances where I was halfway to the place to interview for, and they call me and say, "Oh, hey, we're gonna have to reschedule." It's like you couldn't have called me earlier. Like it was like, and it was some of them were like 9 a.m. Interviews and stuff. And
Gee.
I live where I live, but I live
Yeah.
like 30 minutes. I mean, without traffic, outside of Los Angeles, and like a lot of the interviews that I go on are in Los Angeles, and so and then couple that with the traffic, and that sometimes it could be it could take 45 minutes to an hour to get to Los
Yeah.
Angeles, and
That's
and then so
infuriating, right?
I'm like halfway there and in traffic, and then I get this call. It's like, hey, you know what? We're just gonna have to reschedule. It's like, you mother. It's like, okay, great, yeah, totally fine. Because I'm just stuck in traffic and I can't go anywhere. And so I was like, and then
In
I
your
have to
head,
like
it's like
and then I have to try and get off the freeway, to just turn back to go back home. And it's like,
in your head, it's like fuck.
right, exactly. And so it also particularly works out well because the company that I was applying for, it would have taken me like an hour and change to get to their offices. In like normal LA traffic.
Yeah.
So so any so that kind of worked out, and so yeah, I'm optimistic about this one because I mean, for those of you who don't know me, and I mean, which is probably a good 7.5 billion of you, um, like my track record with job interviews has not been great, and sometimes it's like after the first interview, I don't hear back from them, or sometimes it was like even before I even had the interview, they decided to change the parameters of how they were going, about change the parameters of their selection process, and and then I get dropped, and so
Yeah, I mean, we've had really lengthy discussions about like all that stuff where we talked about like did you think it was more of like things about like you that like
right,
your
right,
with your
right.
and all that stuff like do you think that played part of it? But like being asked for a second interview is always a good sign.
Mm-hmm. Right, and yeah, 'cause I mean, I don't even know if there are um, any other candidates, or like who like I'm up against, because uh, the other person might be more qualified and more experienced than me. So,
Right.
but yeah, like having the second interview and just the frequency of communication is always a good sign. And so
Right.
yeah, and yeah, I think I've shared this before, but it's become a bit of it's kind of become a bit of a tradition that kind of like organically started to happen, where every year around my birthday, I'd have job interviews, or singular job interview. I mean, they wouldn't typically work out, but it's been kind of like a kind of a tradition that's developed for myself. But
Yeah.
hopefully this is the last year, or at least it'll be the last one for a very long time. That
Yeah. Hopefully that's what we're hoping for. Yeah. Usually like around like when it's my birthday, like usually like a lot of like just bad stuff like goes like a lot of stuff goes wrong.
mm-hmm.
This year that didn't happen really, so it started like it felt like it started like kind of started to spiral downwards, but like the week after my birthday or so is like when things started to pick up for the better. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, all right, cool.
Right.
Um, so I was definitely happy about that. Getting the getting the job, and then
Mm-hmm.
just other things in my life are starting to go pick up and like go pretty well. Like I was
Everything's
hoping.
coming up, Robert.
Yeah, which is very rare. I usually expect nothing to go my way. So
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of yeah. It's we all have seasons. Uh, there are seasons where it feels like we're just being constantly dumped on, but then there are always inevitably or invariably there are seasons where we're on cloud nine, and it's kind of the cycle of things that just happen. Sometimes some seasons it's going to be great, and other times it's going to be tough, and even like worst case scenario, it's going to be awful. But like just like on every roller coaster, there's ups and downs, and so
yeah,
and so too is life.
yeah. I mean that's the something I always try to keep in mind, especially like this last period, like last year has been kind of a tough year on me.
Mm-hmm.
But even like really like the last 5 or 6 years have been actually really tough on just like a number of different things, like not working out the way that I had hoped, or
Mm-hmm.
um, some mistakes that I've made or whatever. And but like overall, like it's just kind of I try to look at like, okay, well, what is good? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I can be thankful for, and
Mm-hmm.
I have good friends. I have as much as they drive me crazy, I have a good family,
Mm-hmm.
and I know the people that care about me the most after like going through those periods. People that I can like rely and lean upon,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I mean, if I felt, and I can't say that like my faith doesn't help either, where it's like because there's a lot of times where I don't think if I had it I would probably feel pretty hopeless, and like there's like what's the point. um I don't know if I would have like killed myself or anything, but it's just kind of, I probably would have been a hell of a lot more depressed
Mm-hmm.
than I was.
Right, because I mean, like if you have no hope, then I can't imagine just like being that bereft of light, you know. Because like yeah,
Yeah.
if I was the type of person that didn't have any type of hope, like because I am a believer, and if I didn't have any hope, I'd probably be a druggie or something, you know. Because if I didn't have anything like bigger than myself to grasp onto, and to know that that while I'm grasping onto this big thing, it's also grasping on to me as well. And so yeah, it's just, I mean, call me sheltered, call me whatever, but like I don't think I've ever felt uh like true despair. Like I think despite like my condition and everything, I've had times where it's things seemed, hope, here I go contradicting myself, but where it felt a little hopeless, and or like the situations seemed insurmountable, or there just wasn't any light. I don't like I could empathize a little bit on that level, but in the back of my mind, I always knew that there was a bigger power that was, supporting me. And even though I felt as though like I was like free fall and just not being supported, I knew in the back of my mind that there was always going to be something there to catch me and to help and help bring me back up. So.
What? Yeah, I would say like I think that is kind of the difference between like despair is like where it's like there really is like no hope, and like where like a lot of the situations that you and I go through, it's like it's seemingly hopeless, where there's like you don't necessarily know what the outcome is going to be.
Mhm.
But like there is like usually like there is some sort of silver lining or whatever, like that like we're not actually like so like far gone, where like it's not gonna like kind of work itself back the way it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
Like despair to me is like where it gets to the point where it's like in actuality there's nothing to hope for. Like it's nothing's, it's just completely devastated.
Mhm.
um that's kind of like, yeah, so in that sense, yeah, you and I have never felt, and actually most people in the United States have not felt complete despair.
Mhm. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, like a deep, abiding kind of despair, hopelessness. I don't think.
Yeah, most people in the Western world have not felt despair within like the last 50 or 60 years.
True. True. It's like because what would have I mean I know we went through like the quote unquote Great Recession, but I really wonder what was it like in the Great Depression back in like the 30s, and just like how much more awful was it, because there wasn't like all like these government protections and and like welfare or whatever, but
I
what
honestly
kind
like
what were they feeling like, what was the level of despair like for these people, or in hopelessness? Because I'm sure it was not even a fraction of what people were feeling just like a few years ago.
oh yeah, no, that the situation was definitely a lot more dire back then, just because the yeah, with how people were playing around with like the stock market was actually very, very dangerous,
Hmm.
and that you find a lot of people from that time don't really trust banks, and because they were really essentially allowed to gamble with people who put their money in their banks. They were essentially gambling with the money that people had deposited in the bank, and then they lost it all. So it's you find a lot of people like were like, "What the fuck?" Like it's like now I have all this money and now it's completely gone, and there's no hope of it coming back. Um, the other thing that it also gets lost is like you think of everyone that like went completely you know belly up, and that's actually not the case either. There was still like I mean yeah, unemployment and like a lot of you know quote unquote poverty like was there, but it wasn't the it wasn't like an all encompassing like everyone was just completely like fucked. Um, there was because there wasn't like all like it wasn't the entire stock market that crashed. It was definitely a lot. A few, quite a few. I mean, it was quite a few businesses that like collapsed and like failed, and it set up like it was kind of like a huge transition to something new. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
but that was something that had been happening since the not even like the 20s. It was happening like in the early turn of the century stuff, where it's just stuff that was allowed to have to happen, continue to happen, and it kind of that can got pushed down the field, and it's kind of like the or Russian roulette. The bullet fell on Herbert Hoover, where he pretty much got um, you know all the blame for something that he had really nothing to do with. Um, and
Hmm.
FDR gets a lot of the credit for the restoration of everything, but really all of his plans were shit. The thing that brought us back was kind of everyone coming together during World War II. um, and But yeah, no, it was definitely the way I always hear it described is it wasn't necessarily like everyone was yeah, certain people took suicide as a way out, and um, a lot of people were devastated, but the majority like of just normal folk like you and me back at that time, it was more of hey, the family, let's we come together, we support each other, we get by on less, and um, I think honestly, like times like that, and we discussed this, I think a few weeks ago, where I think sometimes tragedy and bad things can it does bring out the word like bad in people, but I also think it brings out a lot of good. I think family values were strengthened during that time, togetherness, working together, working hard. Um, all the things that make America America. Not necessarily about like race or anything like
Right.
about
And you
that.
could dare say
The
that there are actually, like, during that time, like, there was more sense of community, because everyone, was, kind of more or less in the same boat, and they were like helping each other out.
exactly, because it's like
So,
I mean it's
yeah, because I don't,
hey
because I know like there are initiatives like develop or foster sense of community within neighborhoods and such, but they're kind of they're not implemented very well. But when you have situations like like the Great Depression, where people are just struggling to get by, then your neighbor has like this, it's kind of like that stone of stone, like I don't know if you're familiar, if you ever heard the story, but the story of stone soup, which might also be an allegory for communism, but we're gonna overlook that for right now. But what was it?
I
It
think
was
I have heard this story, but go ahead and share it.
Yeah, so it was the story goes, there was a village who was struck really badly with like some sort of like famine or blight on their crops, and so everyone was starving, but then this traveler comes by and says, oh, he's like, why, it's like, where's all the food? And there's like, oh, there's like this great light on our crops, and we're having a hard time. And he's like, oh, well, you know what? I have this magic stone that if you throw it into a pot, it makes the best soup ever. And he's like, oh, really? Yeah. So they get like this big cauldron and like fill it with water, and he throws in the soup. It throws in the stone, and he's like, oh, well, you know what? We need but we need some stuff to like get it kick started, or get it going a little bit. And so it's like, does anybody have anything, like any vegetables or whatever? And like, one person's like, oh, I have, celery, I have carrots, I have, and then another person's like, oh, I have potatoes, and then they all throw it into the pot, and then, lo and behold, a soup is made. And
Right.
so, I guess that story could be what is it? An allegory? An allegory for how coming together, pooling resources and working on behalf of the community uh, helps everybody. The rising tide lifts all ships, kind of thing.
Exactly. Well, see, you said it like it's like it kind of sounds like communism. I highly disagree with that. See, because the difference would be here. If it was communism, the guy that had the stone pot is like would be holding everyone up at gunpoint. He's like, "You better give me your stuff."
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where it's like I see that as much more of a in lack of better terms, a very like Christian thing. There's when I'm ever talking about like stuff on like the Holy Spirit, I think there's two different stories in the Bible, one from the Old Testament and one from the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the Old Testament, after the Israelites have come out of Egypt, they've kind of taken their what was owed to them, like they plundered what was owed to them, essentially.
Yeah. They took all the Egyptians' gold, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So as they're going on, it comes to them. It's like, oh, well, we need to build the tabernacle and to like worship God together and all this stuff. And the Spirit comes upon them to like, hey, you know what? Why don't we like use it kind of move their hearts like, hey, I have all this stuff, let's use this to form the tabernacle. And like they take all that stuff that they had taken with them from Egypt, they put it together to like help create the tabernacle. And in Acts, after the Holy Spirit's come and like people are
they sell their possessions and they give up their money
to raise money for people to come and stay longer in Jerusalem to hear the message of the gospel. You see, some people see this like, Christians have to be poor; they have to sell off everything. Kind of, it's like, no, that's not what it's saying. Well, these people did it out of the goodness of like making the allowing for a better experience for the community. Yes. But it's not the same thing as like some communist ideal.
Right. right. And another thing is it's poor by choice. It's
Yeah,
poor by choice.
that,
They chose to they made the decision themselves to sell their possessions and to raise the money so that other people might could benefit. It wasn't the apostles going to them at knife points like give us your money, and like
yeah, exactly. But I see that as more of like that's a very godly thing that God moves within people to do things like that, and even like
mm,
the you see that in like these disasters that happen. Like they don't necessarily have to be like a religious person or whatever or
mm,
whatever they believe, but we all whether we want to believe it or not, I believe that we're all created in God's image, and while it's definitely marred, there's still like a slight reflection of that image,
mm,
and kind of grace and especially in the United States, grace and mercy in cases like that, and like coming together, the kind of the community come togetherness,
mm,
um, is definitely like prominent in that. So I kind of all the stories I hear from like the 30s and the Great Depression, while it was very tough.
mm,
It was just people coming together to like benefit the community.
mm.
Whereas nowadays we get like the when even if things are going slightly bad, everyone's like, well, fuck all this. We're just gonna we're gonna find a scapegoat and blame somebody instead of like working together to make things like, okay, we're getting by with less. That's fine. Let's do it. Um,
Right. Yeah, I mean, for all the great things that America provides, uh, there is, I think, if it's not tempered by a sense of morality, I think it it's open to corruption.
yeah,
Just I mean, because just recently, we were talking about this before we started recording, but there's a story of I think it was out of Berkeley. It might have been out of Berkeley, but like these group of like Latino students who barged into a classroom while the students were taking a midterm, and they were like trying to protest, or they're protesting against a demonstration that wasn't even happening at their school. It was happening somewhere else, and they're demanding that like the students get up and like join with them and like go and like cause a scene or whatever. And I just remember feeling a great sense of anger uh, towards these kids because that was just like entitlement. It's like it's like they think they have this right to just go wherever they want and disrupt what's going on because like no, you guys have to shut up and listen to what I have to say because it's super important. And in the video, they were being pretty racist, towards like the white students. It's like, oh, like I guess one white student was like, can you guys leave because we're trying to take a test right now. It's like, oh, it's like check your privilege, white boy. And it was like, how do we let that stand nowadays? Like if it was like flipped around, if it was like a white student, it was like let's say it was a white supremacist, burst into that classroom, and then the Latino student was like, can you like leave because we're trying to take a test? It's like, oh, shut up, beaner. Check your beaner
yeah.
privilege. How quickly would that have been? How quickly would that have been?
He probably would have been beaten to hell.
Yeah,
I mean, deservedly so. But it's just
right.
like
But I mean, but
in
then by
this
that
the
same token, like should not have the Latino studio been beaten down. I, I don't know.
I probably yeah. I honestly like it's not. It's see that's where the thing where it you know it's not that like you shouldn't have like the right to speak out against certain
Right.
issues, but there's also like there's a time and a venue for that to happen too. Blasting through a classroom, A, that's not your own. B, it's not even at a school that's like even has anything to do with the issue that they're talking about. And it's just like that. At that point, it's like, that needs to like stop. That's I don't know. And then the whole thing that like, it's like you can't. It's just because you're like a quote unquote a minority, like they can't be racist. It's like, well, that seems like horseshit to me too.
All right, that's minority privilege.
Yeah, and and you guys know me because I'm a white guy. I get that, but you guys like from the like podcast and people that know me, like I don't really have a whole lot of like white friends. And I'm not saying it's like, well, hey, I got like all these like minority friends, aren't I cool? And you do like that whole song and dance, but my whole life is just, it's never really been important at all. Like I'm a really strong believer in what Martin Luther King was trying to promote, where it's like, when he was looking forward to a day when the color of your skin or whatever was not. It
didn't matter. Yeah, he was like, Martin Luther King was living for the day where his skin color did not matter. Yeah, it wasn't about Martin Luther King, the black man. It was just Martin Luther King, the man.
Exactly, and that's I think, but that was not only just for the black community. I think he meant that for everyone too.
Right? No, of course, because it can't just apply to like black people. It's like, oh no, it's like no, only black and white people. But you Asians and beaners get out of here.
And the unfortunate thing, and not that like he didn't have some. I would say a lot more people have taken on more of like Malcolm X's approach to things, instead of more of the peaceful like Martin Luther King approach, where it's like where Martin Luther King was looking more for like equality and for more of more of like a Christian. So I was like, hey, like he understood like we're not we're humans that were created by God. We should be equal. Whereas Malcolm X is like, well, fuck all these people who have all this. Let's just take it by force if they're not willing to change. And that's kind of like more of, I think, like a lot of people are doing nowadays, where it's like, it's not about being equal or like equal rights. It's about like, well, fuck these people who've had power in the past, or like and they can't get over things in the past that like potentially like my ancestors did, which it's like all the people that like committed these atrocities, they're fucking dead. They're long dead.
Yeah, it's just like it's like that stupid idea of reparations. It's like, who gets reparations? Do all white people have to pay reparations regardless of whether or not their ancestors had slaves? And who receives them? How do you track who was a slave? Because what if that you have a black person who's a first generation immigrant from Africa? Do they get reparations? And just it's just like there's no end. What was that?
The funny thing is about that, like you get like people who are emigrating from like Africa who like actually like America. I don't give two fucks about like the whole like Civil War shit that like is going on with people that is like from people that have been in this country for their whole life.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, look at freaking Kenyans. Kenyans are freaking kicking ass. They're the most educated. They earn the most. They work the hardest. Yeah, Kenyans are kicking ass.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know. I just it's not like I'm not trying to be like an insensitive prick or anything like that. Like, hey, like, listen, I understand. Like, there's there's times where it does get kind of out of hand, and like there are some people that it's not like where everyone is like this or that. It's just, there are the very small.
Right, of course, we're talking in generalities, but we have to speak in generality, because if we if we had to talk about specifics every single time, the conversation wouldn't get anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. There's not this giant cabal of like racist, sexist, like white guys that sit and like, how can we fuck people over?
I know, what was it
That
like?
shit exists.
What was it? Steven Crowder has that really great. He used to do this really great bit called the double super secret patriarchy meeting.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's like, yeah, the things like he's like, all right, gentlemen, so today we're going to talk about how we hate boobs, but we're going to make women think that we love them. It's like, oh yes, I hate boobs, and it's like, but like, let's definitely make women think that we're all about boobs, and it's like,
It's like it's ridiculous because it doesn't exist.
right?
And the whole idea that it's like for me, I have no guilt about anything because first of all, the people that were involved with that are fucking dead. They're dead.
Right, and back then, less than 1% of the white population owned slaves, and then there were also instances of black slave owners, other like freed slaves, freed black slaves, who then went or turned around and bought some slaves of their own.
And nobody talks about the white slaves that were in this country.
Oh, yeah, the Scots and the Scottish Irish that were brought over as indentured servants. That were brought over as indentured servants, but still treated as slaves.
Yeah, and they fucked them up worse than any of the the black people that they brought over.
Mm-hmm.
But it's one of those things where it's like, and even like on your side, okay, granted, like you go to the 60s, and that was kind of a tumultuous time in America, and it was a legitimate gripe. I totally stand by like a lot of the protests that were going on back then, and I probably would have been involved in that because I felt like it, like what they were standing up for was very real. But like it's like, but the people that on both sides that like were involved in a lot of this stuff, they're fucking dead. It's like let's I maybe it's I kind of almost wish that we'd have more of like kind of a Gene Roddenberry vision of like the future where none of that shit matters anymore. Like we've all gotten over like the differences between like different people groups, and we've come to celebrate them and just like, hey, we're humans. We have there's no really concern for that shit anymore.
Right. Yeah, what was it? Yeah, it was like that one episode where they somehow transport Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln from the past, and then he's like on the Enterprise, and then he like marvels at Uhura. It's like, oh look, it's like, and like he apologizes like for staring or like gawking at her or whatever, and then she's like saying, whatever, doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, it's like and I think that was, I think that's a beautiful vision. I mean, Gene Roddenberry was an interesting guy to begin with, but like that vision of just like where that old shit doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, that's all it is. Yeah, was it Joe Rogan always kind of on his podcast always talks about, it's like we have to just get rid of this old dead shit that doesn't matter. Like it's people are too caught up in that and they can't get over it. And for me, it's like that's kind of how I feel. It's old dead shit that doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
There's bad ideas, bad dumb ideas, and but when you when you label everything as something like, oh, you're like you're a racist and all this, it's like, well, what ends up happening is the people who are actually real racists, the people who are really like actually thinking that way, everyone gets desensitized where it's like, oh well, I said this one thing instead of saying it like this word, and it's like, well, and that becomes the new like hot button CNN issue, when in reality it's like it means nothing, and the people that are actually doing these horrible acts that should be like, and they should be cast off in society, they're allowed to get away with even more like horrific stuff, and it kind of fuels justifying them. It's like, see, they're doing it too. So it means that it's okay for me to do it, and it just creates this craziness.
Yeah, it becomes like a bit of the boy who cried wolf, because it's like racism, 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 and it's like, and then like they keep saying that, and they get into, they keep calling racism, and then they go, hey, didn't you hear me? I said racism. It's like, yeah, I heard you, whatever. And then it just becomes like, like, yeah, I don't want to hear, whatever. It doesn't mean anything anymore, because, you say it so much, and like every time I do go and investigate it, it's not racism.
Yeah.
So.
But there's too much of that, like where it's we're definitely in the era of the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah. If anyone was to call me racist, I would just be like, prove it. That's all. Yeah, that's like the brilliant thing, because like everyone thinks like they have to have like these strong arguments or against like whatever was said. It's like, no, just have the other person explain it. It's like, or try to explain it. It's like, okay, it's like how am I racist?
Yeah,
explain it to me.
No one's willing to stand up, and when you actually stand up, and it's like, okay, you tell me how is this or that, like, racist or sexist or whatever, explain it. And more often than not, like, they're like, well, it's because of this. Like, okay, well, continue that thought. Like, okay, if I am this way, then what's
exactly?
Next
step? It's like Gavin McInnes when he's like, play it through.
Exactly.
Play it through. It's like, I'm a racist. Okay, how? It's like, because of this. It's like, okay, and then play it through. It's like, and then because of that. It's like, all right, and it's like, but that, and then it's like, oh, but does that lead to racism? It's like, I guess not. It's like, then I'm not a racist. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where, I'm not gonna like, all of a sudden like flip the script and like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna be a neo-Nazi and fuck all these like, minorities. We're taking back America. We're gonna make it white. No, I'm not gonna I'm never gonna be on that side. I was never on that side to begin with.
Right. You're not. Yeah. You're not. So you're saying right now that you denounce Richard Spencer?
Yeah.
Say it right now, Rob.
I definitely denounce all that shit. But my point is that it's when you get like labeled all that stuff, it's like, listen, what. I can't control like what my skin color was or how I was born. It's just something that happened. It doesn't matter.
You're Rachel Dolezal.
Oh
yes.
Don't even get me started on that shit. God. Or and then you get like your Sean Kings of the world, where it's like,
Talcum like, X. Yeah.
Yeah. That's brilliant. I like that. That's.
I wish I could take credit, but it's someone else coined it.
Oh man, that's great. Whoever did that, that's brilliant. But yeah, it's like I can't control it. Just like that person can't control, their skin color or the family that they grow up in. It's like that's just shit that like happens.
It's just the cosmic lottery. Some people, some people are born white. Some people are born white and poor. Other people are born in, white and well off. But that's just the luck of the draw.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like, no matter what you believe in, whether you're a Christian or whatever religion, or you're agnostic or atheist, the reality is like you. I think everyone can agree on that. It's like, you have zero control over your stuff like your skin color, your genetics, the family that you grow up in. Really, the only choice as far as like things that you have in life are like, as you grow up, decisions that you make for yourself, the friends that you choose to hang around with, and like your spouse. You can't even like when you have kids, you don't really have a choice over that either. It's just that's kind of a genetic lottery.
Like like your kid might get the best parts of you or the worst parts of you, but them's the breaks. I mean, unless they perfect that Gattaca technology.
Yeah.
But yeah, like how I kind of boil it down is like the only real choice in life is your underwear.
Yeah. And that's a pretty good assumption. To, those are like it's choosing the clothes you wear. Essentially, that's the choice you got. So the fact that like someone that is, we all have different circumstances to start off from, but you're in a place that, and this is what makes our country so great, is that you're not we're not stuck in a caste system or some sort of weird ass monarchy, like shit from like the Middle
Yeah,
East.
there's
It's so
no aristocracy in this country. I mean,
exactly,
an
it's
argument
like
could be made for one, but in the law within the law there is no aristocracy. Everyone is even playing field, and whoever can get up to the top of that mountain, that it's all on them.
there's we've talked about this ad nauseum on this channel, on this show, in our own private conversations. But uh, people who are there's countless tales of people from all different backgrounds who have come from dirt poor
Yeah,
nothingness and
abject poverty,
very
abject
very
poverty.
successful. And then we've also heard the stories of people who have started off right at the top of society in the kind of in the glitz and glamour, and they fuck everything up in their life, and they end up with nothing or dead. Um, and you see that with like a lot of celebrities and stuff who just piss away their money,
Mm-hmm.
and they either have to like just keep shilling up shit, or they die.
Yeah, or they have to do infomercials for online schools. Shannon Doherty.
Oh man, Shannon Doherty.
But I mean, okay, little sympathy because she does have cancer or something.
Yeah. Well, that could that's a terrible thing.
Yeah, of course.
So like I was saying, a little bit of a side note. It's just like I don't know. There was something because there's Alyssa Milano and like her like they and was it Rose McGowan was the other chick. Yeah, there's a whole like falling out with like Doherty like that they had I guess. So it's kind of funny where Alyssa Milano kind of just kept going up, and Shannon Doherty kind of just faded into.
I don't know, but because at the point that they were doing Charmed, it's not like they were A-list celebrities. So I think so they were pretty equal. They were pretty equal, except for in their minds. Except for in their minds. And like I think Shannon Doherty thought she was a little bit better, but essentially, like those two were equals. And then because of her because of her personality or whatever, Doherty got canned, and Alyssa Milano saw a little uptick in her profile, even though she basically had to start from zero, after what is it, the early '90s, early to mid '90s, when she kind of fell off, and then and then she was booked for Charmed, and so her profile went up again, and so, but at the very start, in my mind, they were equals. But it's just like in Shannon Doherty's mind, she thought she was, better than the rest of the cast.
Yeah. Yeah, it just yeah, but there's always those like countless tales of people like coming from nothing and then becoming something, and then people who were something became nothing.
Yeah, and that was the thing that was set up. That was the thing that was set up, by the founders. Is like, no more monarchies, no more aristocracies. Everyone's gonna get a chance. Everyone's gonna have their shot. And that's like the baseline. That's the bare minimum that any society or government should give a person a shot.
Exactly.
If you make that, if you make that shot, great. If you don't make that shot, better luck next time.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. That was just, yeah. I mean, I could talk about that stuff for hours. It kind of, bugs me of like, being held down. I have no shot. That's bullshit.
right? And right, like they always talk
You have
about this,
plenty of
this.
shots.
They always talk about the systemic, right?
Yeah.
I remember early on in Dave Rubin's show when he had Larry Elder on, and Dave Rubin brought up systematic racism, and Larry Elder called him out on it. It's like, oh, like what's systematic racism? And and then Dave Rubin gave kind of like the general like popular kind of answer, and it's like that's not systematic, because that's based on because like the whole thing about like cops being racist or whatever, that's individual. That's on the individual level. It's not. There's not a rule about you having like a cop having to pull over a black person. You know.
It's like Rule 10-A or something like
Yeah,
that.
subsection 3. You will pull over a black man. You will harass him. You will plant drugs on him. There's no statute. There's no procedure. There's no rule. Within the law that says that. So there is
Exactly.
so the racism isn't systematic. It's individual. It's individual. Racism is always individual.
Yeah. It's like when there was like a group formed, it was more of like an outlier.
Right? Yeah. Like the KKK. Yes, you can say like they were basically an arm the military arm of the Democratic Party, but they weren't huge. They weren't huge. At their I think at the height of their power, they're what like maybe like 6,000.
Yeah, it was not very many. Like
Yeah, and like
that
now
was
they're like
I
they're
remember.
like they're like 600, 600. KKK members.
Yeah, and because I remember like looking into that too, where I was like, because it seemed like, man, it's like I was thinking like that I was gonna find that there was this like giant number of like, in the past all these like clan members, and I looked up, it's like, at its peak it was like it's really like in the grand scheme of things, it's like a not even a percentage point
Yeah,
of the population.
right. Yeah, I mean, and now in a country of 300 million plus, it's like not it's like 0.000000001. I mean that's not an actual number, but I'm just using
Yeah,
it as an
but
example.
it
But
kind of,
that's basically representative of the white supremacist population in America.
yeah. But yeah, it's just it's crazy. I just it's so tired and old now, or I get I was mentioning this like before too, where I'm like as I was saying earlier, see I'm a pretty just straight laced guy. Like I don't really, like I said, I don't care about race or anything like that. It's just, it's more to me. It's all like, are you a dick or are you cool? Okay, you're cool. Like, and we have like, even if we don't necessarily have like stuff in common, like we can find something that's like, hey, like we're cool. Like like we'll just like go hang out, we'll go eat or something, and I can get along with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And um, what was the point I was? But I was like, yeah, but like earlier in the in the week, like it's I do have like friends where it's kind of they're more tend to be like left on the left side of things, and it's like, well, it's like these it's all like the white people, they're kind of racist, and it's like, do you like, or like they brandish everyone from that's south of the Mason Dixon line is like, well, those people are racist. It's like, no they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you been down there? Like, I mean, yeah, okay. There might be a few that are like actual racists, but there's a lot of people that are just like, maybe they're ignorant of things. Like they don't really. And I mean, I've met people who it's like they've actually never seen a black person in their life, and it's not like, ew, get away from me, you're different. It's not that. They're just like, oh wow, like I didn't know you existed. Um, but a majority of the people from like the South and stuff, like they're such sweetheart people. Like they just care about like they have very good community values,
Mhm. Right.
godly.
That's why there's that expression, Southern hospitality.
Yeah, it's like if you,
They're
I
very
mean,
hospitable people. They're very warm. I mean, they always kind of use like terms of like endearment or affection. It's like, oh, hon, let me get that for you, or whatever. And so, yeah,
they
there's a
they live in,
culture of being open and generous and welcoming in the South.
yeah. But it was just one of those things where, like, I heard some stuff where it's like, oh, it's like, it's white, it's just some white people shit, like, or it's um, it's like, only like white people really like think that way or do that way. It's like, well, first of all, no, that's not true.
Mm.
And it's one of those things where it's like not that like I really don't usually let like words get to me at all, like because like fuck it, it's just words. Like they can't like hurt me. But then sometimes like you hear stuff like over and over again, and after a while it's like, you know what, fuck it. Like I'm so tired of hearing this like same narrative that just gets espoused, and it just, I I'm not like I'm not some like ignorant racist dumbass that just because I was born with a certain skin color, no one's and to say that like like so that does that make you whatever you say about like a certain race, that doesn't make you racist too, like, or maybe you're kind of ignorant of like that culture, like that maybe you need to do some like digging and like actually get to know some of these people.
Right? It's
um
just like, yeah, it's like if I went to a black person, it's like, you like chicken and watermelon and you do drugs.
yeah,
Just
but
because just because your skin color. Just because your skin color. And it'd be the same thing as like, someone came to me and it's like, oh, you're good at math and you have a tiny dick.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not my skin color. I'm just me. I just happen to be the skin color.
Well, and that's one of those things, like, and what kind of like bothers me a little bit is because it goes to like, yeah, is your whole identity wrapped up in like your skin color, your ethnicity, your sexual preference, your like your whatever fuck gender you want to be, even though you can only really be the
Yeah, there's
gender
only
that you.
two. Because even the people who transition, they either transition to one or
One or
the
the other.
other, one or
There's
the
no
other,
like.
and not some like made up some made up gender like what is it? I don't even see. That's how much it doesn't. I don't even care about it because I don't even know the other like 52 different genders
But the
because it doesn't even matter because it's only two.
yeah, yeah, it's crap. What was I? I lost my train of thought. My brain is starting to like fade like quickly. I'm
Basically, you're not your skin color.
yeah. It's like, okay. So you're not made of all these things. For me, like, and as if you follow a biblical example of like we were created. God is not just like one aspect. There's so many like different things that God espouses, and as Christians, we believe that we were created in God's image. Not necessarily like our physical appearance, but like in the attributes that we contain within us in our
Mm-hmm.
character.
Mm-hmm.
We reflect that in a way. And when these same people like that I meet sometimes, like they hold that belief in that. Yet when it comes to this, it's like, well, now you're becoming one thing. You're making it one thing, and it's not one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's kind of, and that where I feel like it's a very dishonest, um, you know, was hypocritical. Like, well, everyone's kind of a hypocrite at times, anyways. But where it's that you're kind of where you're making a argument for one thing, yet you're also making an argument for the complete opposite thing too, where it's not logically sound.
Right.
It can't be, but it can't be both things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah.
But I also think it's a very sad existence when like your only reason for existing is because, oh well, I'm black, I'm white, I'm this, I'm that. that's all you are, you know, what about like
Right.
actually
It's like
giving
they're too focused on the sum of their parts and not the whole.
exactly?
Because yes I'm Asian. Yes I'm a cripple. Uh, I'm a man. Uh, I am a brother. I am a son. I'm an uncle. But all those are all just aspects of of who I am. They don't each define me. They just make up the whole. And you could take the whole as you could take the whole or not. It's that's the beauty of choice. You could choose to take the whole thing or not.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just crazy times we're living in, and I'm hoping that I hold out hope that someday that like this will change and we can actually like get back to having discussions about things, and of course I get the
Yeah.
gardener right outside my window. It's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Fuck, fucking
Just knows
awesome.
exactly when to ruin the party. But yeah, it's like that old it's like that Chinese toast where it's like here's to living in interesting times, or damn that leaf blower really is blowing. But also what is it that line from what you should know, but one of those the Charles Dickens books, I think it was Tale of Two Cities. It's the best of
Yeah,
times, it was the worst of times. It's the best of times and the worst of times simultaneously.
it really is right now. And I'm hoping that um, we start getting back to more of like being able to have different ideas and
Mm-hmm.
discussing them and like actually still you know remaining friends and not like
Yeah.
just shouting bumper sticker slogans that and not actually really having a opinion on things and just espousing all these false narratives about different subjects and um, I hope that like one day we'll get back to that.
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Just as an example, I remember just this past weekend I was with Dancing Jason, and
Uh-huh.
we're driving. We're on our way to someplace, and I had asked them. I brought up the topic of how they dropped the penalty of uh, uh, intentionally infecting someone with AIDS from a felony to a misdemeanor. And then,
What?
yeah, you didn't know?
No,
Yeah,
that's horrific.
it is. It kind of is.
You're essentially you're giving that person a death sentence.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but yeah, and then me and Dancing Jason had like this really great debate about it because I think he was coming out of it more of like more centered and was trying to advocate on behalf of what is it? People like who unintentionally infect people with AIDS or HIV.
Yeah, oh, and that happens
Right. Yeah. I
because
mean,
sometimes it lays dormant and like they don't even know that they have it.
right. And with like with the drugs that we have today, like you could have AIDS and then get a test and then it won't even show up. I
Exactly.
mean, that's how good the drugs have become. But I think, and I get, and like the legislator they who was who authored it or was the one who was presenting it to the state assembly was saying like, oh, we have to get rid of the stigma associated with HIV and AIDS, and that and that might very well be, yes, no one should be demonized or stigmatized for having the disease, but someone who knowingly transmits it should be held to account.
Yeah.
And that's and that was my argument, because for the people who might newly be infected with AIDS and don't know yet, and then have intercourse and then become infected. Okay, we can have some compassion, but for the one who knows, and I guess it all boils down to disclosure laws. Should someone with HIV and AIDS be compelled to notify their partner or someone that they're going to engage in sexual intercourse with, that they have AIDS? I'm
I
of
definitely
the
want to
I'm of
know.
the camp of yes,
With something as serious as
unequivocally,
that, definitely.
huh?
With something as serious as that, fuck yeah, you better be telling me.
Right, yeah, because then it becomes it becomes a a public health hazard, health concern,
Yep.
and so I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, and Dancing Jason made a very good argument about, like, oh, what if they didn't know? It's like, okay, fine, but I think he also made an argument about, oh, well, if this person gets AIDS, it's that person's fault. It's like, because like that person chose to engage in sexual intercourse with that person with AIDS. But I think um, what kind of obliterates that argument is that, uh, like, I think once you're diagnosed with AIDS, you are informed of the law, and I think there are disclosure laws, you know,
Yeah.
on the books in California, and so that anyone with AIDS must, if they're going to engage in sexual intercourse, must disclose their status as being, be HIV positive. And so again, like, and then because then it's on the judicial side that all of that should be handled, because I think what we got in started to argue about was intent. And I mean, I understand it's really hard to argue intention. And so, but I
Sure.
think but in the court, I think that's where it should be argued. And and but I think dropping the severity of the charge uh, was not a good idea.
Yeah, no, I think that kind of hurts the discussion quite a bit.
Mm. Although Jason did make like a good point about, oh, what's a misdemeanor? What is the sentence for a misdemeanor? Because a misdemeanor could also include some jail time.
Yeah. Well, felony, you're going to jail for a long time if you
Right.
get convicted.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I forget like exactly what like a misdemeanor like carries with that and all that
Right.
good stuff.
Yeah. But I think there's already a statute set, because there are two cases. One was in England, where a guy was knowingly going around having sex, infecting women.
Damn.
And another one, I don't know if it was a woman, I forget where, I think it was in Europe, but she was also going around infecting guys. I'm not sure if it was like through sex, or if she was just like, I don't know, somehow like drugging them and like and injecting them with uh, like blood with AIDS in it or
Jesus.
something. I don't know. But
Jesus.
yeah, but they were both criminally charged
Yeah.
and convicted. So there's already a precedent. There's already a statute. You know,
Yeah.
for this. So like, yeah. So again, compassion and sympathy for the people that don't know that they're HIV positive, but for the pieces of shit that knowingly infect people, yes, definitely felony. But
Yeah,
again,
definitely.
But again, all this freaking nuance about like, oh, intention. It's like, okay, that's what that's what the courts are for. That's what the courts are for.
Yep.
Because because a felony charge is different from a felony conviction. I think that's the takeaway from all of that.
Yeah, I would. Well, like I said, you're preaching to the choir to me. It's like honestly that people who are going out intentionally doing stuff like that, like you're killing people. Yeah, it might not be with like a knife or a gun, but that person's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're coming up. We're well past the hour.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can see in your face I'm kind of losing you. So.
Oh no, it's not that no, you're not losing me. I'm just it's been a really busy few days. So I kind of haven't been sleeping a lot, so I'm a little on the tired side.
Okay.
And I think when we do these pre-tapes, this is the second pre-tape that we've done. And I don't know, something about like maybe it's like we're doing it at a different point of the day, and like I get kind of cranky around that time of the day.
Right,
and so just a lot of.
What are you gonna do when you start working? I don't think they have nap times where you work. So.
No. It's not. It has nothing to do with nap time or anything like that. But I tend to be more of reflective, and things that bug me, kind of come out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know what it is. Like, because normally like I said, I'm a light and fun guy, but there was just a lot of that stuff that I just feel like I need to get out there and like get off my chest. And I figured, hey, what the hell? Let's talk about it with you and whoever's watching.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, I don't think it's a bad thing. We live in this world, and we're gonna have opinions, and why can't we have our opinions?
Exactly.
And maybe some people have the same. Maybe some people line up with our opinions, and maybe some people don't. And for those people that don't align up with our opinions, let's hash it out. Because I think one of the I really enjoyed the debate that I had with Dancing Jason. Is because we were like wrestling with each other, and we were trying to, but we were also at the same time trying to see from the other person's perspective, and so, but at the end of it, we were still able to be friends. We were still able to walk away from it friendly, and so and just because like I didn't necessarily agree with Jason's point of view, and he didn't necessarily agree with mine, we understand that we're not evil people because of it. We just have different perspectives, and so it doesn't make us evil for having those opinions. It's just different. It's just different opinions.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. People, that's the whole point of humanity. We all have like different viewpoints. We all have different ways of dealing with things, and we don't have to let it necessarily be like you're just a racist, or you're this, you're that. Like right. it just.
It's also like if you really think that I am wrong, not even not evil, but just wrong, then help me to understand my wrongness if that's the case. Don't just slap this label on me that that just shuts down the conversation, and then that label like carries, and like other people see it and say, oh, that guy he's just a racist. There's no point in talking to him. It's like, no, like you could think that I'm wrong, but just point out to me where I'm wrong, and that way, like if I truly am wrong, then I can be like, oh, well, you know what, I was wrong about this, or I didn't think about it from this perspective, but since you explained it to me, I'm kind of seeing like how I was mistaken.
Yeah, like you were in the wrong at that point. Definitely. That's always like been my thing is like don't shut down the conversation. The conversation is what helps us grow and like learn things, and
exactly.
We can come at like get better ideas that way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, we're coming on to a minute and not a minute, an hour and 30 minutes.
Okay.
I think this is a good place to
Yeah. There's
shut her down. Shut her down.
Shut her down.
Shut her down. So
many
yeah,
more
I mean, well,
conversations.
Robert, I'll kick it to you for a last word. Anything you want to clarify or just
No,
try and tie a little bow around?
I think I feel a little bit better, just kind of like I said, getting that stuff off my chest. I don't know why that like it kind of stuck in my head and just kind of I don't know bothered me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Normally like shit like that I don't care about, but I think I've heard it so much from like all different directions,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of tend to just like not say anything because I don't care, but.
I mean, yeah, it's easy. It's easy to feel surrounded. It's easy to feel surrounded, especially these days.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel that way too. Like, when I go onto Facebook to, check whose birthday it is. That's basically what I use it for nowadays. I don't really post anything on Facebook. I just go on there to check whose birthday it is. But just like this, but the stuff that I see on Facebook is just like. It's just like, I can't believe you actually, or, I can't believe you're putting this up or you're sharing this. I'll admit this one thing. I saw this article that a person that I know posted or shared, and just the title of the article was, why Asian people have to realize they're not white. But just going by that title, I can already tell what that article was going to be about. It's going to be about how Asians need to be better allies, and and how they have to be against white people, and like they'll never be white people, and
no offense, but like your people are doing way better than white people in this country.
That is true. That is true. We're Asian Americans are the most educated. They hold the most degrees, most advanced degrees also, and their salaries are higher than white people.
Yeah, by like a pretty good margin too.
Yeah. And it's not because of the color of our skin. It's just not.
Yeah.
It's just.
But no, it's just and I don't necessarily like play the victim like I'm a conservative, like, and I have certain thoughts on stuff. I don't feel like I'm not a victim. Like it's one of those things where it's like I have strong beliefs in things like with like my faith and some of the more political views that I have. It's like I stand by them. I'm not scared by them. I'm always willing to share like why I think certain ways about things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also willing to have a conversation too, where if someone has a different idea or they think that I'm wrong. I want to hear their thoughts, their ideas. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, you can just kind of go away now. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. But no, I just I don't know. Something about like doing the pre-tape where I seem to go off a little bit.
Yeah, you let your grumpy old man slip out just a little bit more.
Yeah,
just a little.
Maybe I'm more. I guess maybe I'm more like loopy at night or something like that. So I'm a little bit more just kind of upbeat and silly.
Maybe.
Like I'm grumpy and reflective during the day.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. Okay. I guess with that, we'll call it. We'll wrap it up. Put a nice bow on it. Thank you for joining us on Nocturnal Transmissions. Don't forget to catch us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Don't forget to also catch the regular podcast, the main podcast. You can find those on the Circle of Jerks podcast YouTube channel. Right now, we don't have enough followers to warrant a personalized URL. So just go to YouTube and type in Circle of Jerks podcast, and we'll be the first first thing that pops up because we put we put up so much content. Uh, so we got that top spot. We got the mountain. We're holding the mountain right now.
Sounds good.
Yes. Oh yeah. Don't forget to also check out Rob's show, Up by Up Down. The next episode should be dropping Thursday.
Thursday. Yep.
So keep an eye out for that. I think we did a lot. We did a lot of Metroid episodes, so I think it'll be either
This
the
is the
second to
last
last or
one?
the last Metroid episode.
Yeah.
Pretty
So
sure.
yeah, come out, support the show. I would, we're there playing games, having fun.
Yeah, call
Definitely
Robin New
from the.
in the
It's
comments.
definitely an escape from the normal like crazy news and stuff like that. We're having a good old time. So come on out and
Yes,
give
and
us,
Robert swears a lot more on that show than on this one. So.
Oh God, yes.
So if you want to hear Rob cussing like a sailor, which is funny because he used to be one. He used to be in the Navy. So
Yeah, I hold back a lot until I start playing games, and then it just flows out of me.
Right. Yeah, so don't forget to catch that dropping Thursdays. Don't forget to follow us on our social medias, Twitter at PodcastCOJ, and on the Instagram, Circle of Jerks Podcast. I believe that's it. So for myself and the homie Rob, we're going to say good night, and we'll catch you next time.
See you guys.